Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Platformers live stream. And thank you for joining us because today we have a special episode. Is the second episode of Canoe, and today we are going to talk about the IDP Builder deep dive. And for that, we have with us Carlos Santana, a senior specialist solution architect at EKS AWS. How are you, Carlos?
I'm doing great, Guy. Thank you for having me again. Um,
You are a special guest, and you are expert for Canoe, so we are
yep.
very happy to have you with us.
So if someone didn't see the last episode, yeah, my name is Carlos Santana. I'm a solutions architect. It's a specialist solution for EKS. So I work with a lot of customers that use the EKS service, the Kubernetes distribution in AWS, and I help them build solutions around IDPs, which might have three definitions: internal developer platforms, internal developer portals, and today I learned a new one: internal delivery platform. How about that?
Wow. Wow, this is new. This is a new one. How can we get more confused than just free acronyms?
Yeah, yeah. So thank you for having me. And then, yeah, the Canoe project is one of the initiatives that we're doing in open source in AWS with other customers and other like vendors and ISVs in terms of like building tooling and best practices to build an internal developer platform with CNCF technologies.
It's just an amazing to see how um, people actually adopting that like Canoe from time to time, and how many companies are actually contributing to this project. And you see a lot of great people, great teams contributing to this project. So in the last episode, for people that are joining just for the second episode, in the previous episode we did some very high level introduction about Canoe, and Carlos explained with the deck like what we are going to get and what Canoe is, and then we showed a demo. But the demo was really straightforward about getting it up and running. It was not really that. And what we wanted to show today is maybe to focus on one or two more specific things and to show you how they actually work.
Yeah. So this is an episode for like hands technologies are put together. Sometimes we can I share my screen? Or
Sure.
I think I have the Canoe website just for,
Oh,
and a lot of folks watch this afterwards, right? This is recorded. So we'll link down to the past episode so you have a context. But yeah, this is the Canoe CNOE .io is the website. And this is where you can find all the information. It's open source project, and then you can see some of the companies that are working together. And it basically is a platform for them to come and discuss on how to best build a platform internally in the applications. And today we had our community meeting. So we have it every week on Tuesdays. I think it's every other week on Tuesdays, if I believe. Yeah, and today we were discussing things like the IDP builder supporting things like Podman, or we wanted to support things like Finch. So people that cannot run Docker run it on top of that, and then also how to have packages, modular packages that you can swap them based on API. So if you want things like external secret operators, or if you want something like crossplane, how do you plug them easily as a package into your internal developer platform, and then creating kind of like a definition of a stack. I think there's a lot of blog posts talking about building a stack. So basically, it's like selecting which packages are you going to use. In this case, we call them capabilities in the Canoe to pick those. But today, we're going to talk about the IDP builder, which is a reference implementation. If you go to the website, you find it here, IDP builder, and there's a repo for it in GitHub. And it's a very small CLI that you download into your computer, and then that's why I was saying that right now it depends on Docker, because we create a Kind cluster, but Kind also supports Podman and supports another project called Finch. So we're looking into, well, we're just creating a Kind cluster, so whatever Kind supports will support, and then adding tests to it. And I last episode, Guy, uh, attempted to run like the reference implementation example that we have, and was able to run it in code spaces, right? It was
Yeah.
easy to get.
So it was amazing. Like on the last episode when we used IDP Builder and code spaces just to spin it up within GitHub, it was pretty straightforward and really easy to do that. Um, because you basically just click on two buttons, you get a kind environment, like a Docker environment running your code space in it. And then from that point, you have like 2 or 3 commands and you wait for 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, you got a full IDP with all the capabilities of the reference implementation. So you got Git installed, Argo CD installed, everything packed together, and you just, or backstage. So you just go there and use them. And that's amazing because all the capabilities are pre-baked into this reference implementation.
Let me see. So yeah, I'm showing here the example. So if you want to give it a try, you can go to the Git repo. There's under examples, there's a reference implementation, which is one of the stacks. And we're talking, there's discussions and issues on discussions on taking these examples into a separate repo, Git repository, where you can run the CLI, run the CLI and then point to a folder in different repos. So that repo will have like different stacks from the community, because the community wants to build like stacks that have different components. So you can contribute a stack with different components or packages, and then idpbuilder pointed to that folder, and then it will come up. Or a combination, you can combine two stacks. But for people that wanted to give it a try, yeah, go here. You can run code spaces. Basically, this gives you a Linux VM. The whole stack needs around like 5 gigs of memory, so that's why I tend to not run it in my computer, because I don't have a lot of memory. But I use a tool called devpod, that basically uses the dev container.json that we have here in the root. These dev containers, and basically takes that information and creates a Linux VM. It can run in Docker, Kubernetes. In my case, I run it on AWS. It spins up a Linux VM, EC2 VM, and then when I close VS Code, it just like it stops, like it sleeps. So I don't get charged for it. Let me see where I have mine. So I have so the thing that I'm talking about is DevBot. It's a CLI and also utility that handles dev containers. But dev containers is a pretty common thing that people use. So in this case, I should have an EC2 machine running, and that's where I'm going to do the demo. So I have,
Yeah. By the
yeah,
way, we have later in this quarter, we have a dedicated episode around cloud development environment and all the capabilities they have from developing, testing, QA, everything on the cloud without using your laptop or the memory on your laptop for anything.
yep,
And
that's
then we're
probably,
going to deep dive into those technologies and how does it work behind the scenes.
yeah. The more that we can use the cloud, right? And because our computers basically like need browser and Slack, I guess, and Git,
Yeah,
but to run like these tests, or like for you to run examples or apps, sometimes you need a lot of memory or CPU. And if you're using doing things like Gen AI, right, artificial intelligence, sometimes you need a lot of GPUs, and people don't have computers like that or laptops, right? And you don't need to. Like that's the good thing, that you just use a cloud service, use it for like the minutes that you want, and then it stops, and you pay as you use. So
exactly.
that's a good thing.
And it feels like it's your machine. So that's the good thing, even faster.
Yeah, and and this technology is also like I was showing guy a minute ago. I have like these mini computers. This, I think it's called a NUC. I have a bunch of them, and also like people might have like old laptops or desktops around the house. Uh, memory sticks are very cheap now, that you can like take one computer, install a Linux, right, and then put a lot of memory disk, and then that becomes your mini cloud in the house, right? That you can, instead of your laptop, you just run this dev container, dev pod, or VS Code server in that Linux machine. And also, if you're not familiar with Linux, also opportunity for you to learn Linux, right? Um, so let's show it. Let's start working with idpbuilder, and show you how it works from the ground up. So let me bring up. I'll stop sharing this and bring up my VS Code, or I may share my whole screen. Probably I'll share because I'm going to open the browser. I'm going to share my whole screen. Hopefully the resolution works, or I can change my resolution for a second here. Let me see. I'm not sharing anything yet. No, we're not sharing.
No, I can't see it.
So let me share my resolution so people can see what I'm doing here.
No worries. So we just give an overview about like what we want to focus on this session. So on the previous session, we did like a very fast overview. Now we want to focus on show you how you can develop, add some capabilities, and how Argo CD works behind the scenes in order to think the capabilities and the thing you have deployed on your local stack into and using CNOE in order to deploy whatever services application you want to deploy in your platform. It really makes platform development much easier and faster. So we want like it's going to be a longer series than 2 episodes. So we want to focus on one technology on each one of the sessions, and this is the focus for this session. So now I can see your screen. Um,
Yeah.
it,
Um, so I
we need
have.
to focus a little bit. It's a little bit small.
It's still small. Let me double check.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
I see.
But I think that once you would go to the VS Code, that will look fine. So it's only the
Oh,
dev
okay.
pod.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
only
So
the
this
dev
is
pod.
DevPod is running. Basically, when I click open, this opens my VS Code. So that's the ID that I use. So I have the VS Code running here. Um, this is IDP. Well, this is an example of IDP builder. So this is a Linux machine. Where is that VS Code looking good, or should I make it
Yeah, it's looking
bigger?
good. Maybe we can close the walkthroughs on the right side. The
Close what?
welcome, sorry. The welcome tab. Okay, that I think
Oh,
it looked good. If
yeah.
yeah, and
I just
increase it
have
a
my
little bit.
terminal.
Yeah, just okay. Now it looks good.
Okay. So yeah, if you download the IDP builder, make sure that you download it. We have a Mac binary and a Linux binary. This is the IDP builder, and if you run it and it doesn't work, probably you need Docker. I'm running on Linux, so it's easy to get. So if you use devpod, automatically it covers. I show you the dev container here. I'm telling it to run Docker, and then the Go version that I want. So I'm compiling the IDP builder CLI because I'm testing the latest versions. And this is the same file that is used for code spaces. Um, um, and it's very common to have that. So back to the terminal. The IDP builder, if you run it by itself, so let's see the commands that it has in here. IDP builder dash help. It has few commands: completion, which is like to generate the auto completion for the CLI, create, and then get. And then get is one that I will show in a second, which is to get the credentials to Argo CD and Git. That was a new feature since you used it last time, guys. So it was kind of difficult to get those base 64
Nice,
strings. So
nice.
yeah, and then any feedback like that on UX, go ahead and open an issue in the GitHub repo because we want to improve the user experience on this. And again, this is a tool for platform engineers. So if you're watching this, you're watching the platformers. So me and Guy were playing platform engineer role today, right? And the thing is, we're going to use this small utility to be able to run the platform that we're trying to troubleshoot or create locally in our laptops or in a small environment, or maybe a CI testing. Maybe we want to test the platform before we actually put it in production. So this is a good way from building something from scratch using GitOps. So if we run the command by itself, it comes with 2 core packages. We call them core packages. So IDP builder create. So I'm going to run it, and as you can see, if the other caveat is like we are platform engineers building a platform on top of Kubernetes APIs. So everything that we're going to be talking is around building a platform using Kubernetes as kind of like the control plane or like framework to provide a self-service platform. And since we're using Kubernetes, GitOps is the best way to configure, do configuration management for Kubernetes. So that's why idpbuilder was going to create a kind cluster, as you can see here, and then it's going to uh, install Argo CD and then git t. So in this case, I can go, yeah. So it's starting, and then
Yeah. By the way, I think what's important for people to understand is that we are using kind for example and local development, but they can scale it into uh, a real cluster that is not a development cluster. So this is
so I think
more
that,
of,
yeah. Go ahead.
no. So I think it's more just they will understand it's a more development flow rather than going to production right now. But you can use both, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm starting here. If I do get pod/a, it looks like it's created the cluster, but it failed to deploy because I'm compiled this thing from master. Let's see. Let me double check. If not, I'll run it from my laptop and see what happens. This is the last example that was given, and I did the make build. Well, let me a git pull make build, and if not, I'll run it from my laptop because I know that the binary from the laptop works. If you run it again,
Oh,
see what
maybe you
happens.
need the dot slash because I think it built it on the same directory. I don't know if the same directory is on the path.
It
Looks
is. It is. I
it
set it
is
up.
okay.
The dev container has something that will put it in the path.
Okay, got it. Got it.
So let's see. And the thing is, you can run idpbuilder create it again, and behind the scenes, well, behind the scenes, but idpbuilder, what it's running is Kubernetes controllers. So they will reconcile. So it will pick up the desired state, and then it will get you to what you want. So it will sync everything as it comes up, and you can run it. You can run it again, or you can run it in watch mode. So it keeps watching the files as they come up. So, and this is taking more than I wanted. Let's see. Let's test on my
By the way,
computer.
it looks better than the previous run. There is some progress there.
Let me see if I have it here. So I have IDP builder here, and I have the same examples. I have examples and IDP. Let me see if I have a kind cluster. Can you see? Let me. I think I have my whole terminal at the bottom. So I can do kind get clusters, no clusters found, IDP builder create,
Oh, there you
same
go.
process, and see if it works. It might be me using the latest version from main. um, so yeah, we do releases. So if you go and download it from the release, you will download a stable binary. In my case, I was not doing that. So we see if it comes up.
Yeah. By the
I
way, on the repo of Canoe, you can find like for the people watching, like you can have two ways. One is as Carlos did previously, is the make, like to make the binaries out of the code. And the other way on the instructions is how to use the latest binary build.
Yep.
So there are
So in
instructions
the
over there.
yeah, and the releases here, it looks like the latest version is we did a build 041. It was 4 days ago. And then we have you can download the Darwin is for Mac OS. So Darwin ARM or Intel, and then we have Linux binaries, and these are like basically Go programs that are compiled. So let's go back on seeing here if it's starting. So it says it's waiting for the deployment Git to be ready. It's waiting for the so three things are going to be installed. I'm going to show in a second. Is deploying nginx for ingress. So if you have a Kubernetes ingress resource, is installing the nginx controller, and it's installing Git, and Git is a Git server, and it's like running in one pod, very ephemeral. So this is an ephemeral environment that you delete and create. And then where's Argo? Argo should be. It says installing Bootstrap apps to Argo CD. Installing the Bootstrap for Argo CD. So this is it's kind of innovative. Like the CLI actually is running a Kubernetes controller, like control runtime and everything. But it's instead of running inside Kubernetes, it's running in your laptop and using Kubernetes kind as the target cluster. So it said that's the typical way. If you write Kubernetes controllers, like something like idpbuilder is a popular project. That's typically how you do your programming. You do it in Go, you run it in your laptop, but you can target a remote cluster or a cluster like kind. So this is ready. That's actually what happened in the Linux VM. But I'm not going to run the full reference implementation, but to run the basic examples, you don't need that much memory. So in this case, it gave us the URL. So if I go to this URL, I will log into Argo CD, and then I'll log in with admin. And then to get the password, this is kind of like the old way. You can do this command. You like this command, get secrets. Let me see if I have. Yep. So as you can see now, I can just copy the secret. And don't worry, because the idea is this is a development environment. So if you're watching at home and trying to hack my computer, you can't. So I open this URL. Maybe move the browser over here.
Yeah.
And then log in. And then this is Argo with the latest version. I think we updated the other day. So it's kind of like that. This is the building block of our platform that we're trying to build. Is Argo CD is the one like installing everything, even to the point of deploying Argo from Argo. And that's a common pattern that we have in the Argo CD community. I'm a member of the Argo CD CNCF project. And that's something that we always recommend. Like if you're going to use Argo CD to manage or deploy with GitOps all your things in Kubernetes, then who manages the configuration of Argo, right? You don't want to do it manually also. So you want to have Argo deploy Argo. So in this case, we're using the same best practices. So in this case, if you want to change something in Argo, this is Argo is like syncing Argo. And the idpbuilder, you can pass a flag. I think is in the works. You're going to pass a flag that you can say, hey, by the way, use the default settings of Argo, but here's some YAML file to apply to the Argo config map for extra things like a or a secret that you want to connect to something else, or a configuration setting. Like when maybe next time when I come back, I'll show you how to set up the sync of, instead of 3 minutes waiting for Argo to sync, to 3 seconds, for example, right? For demo purposes, I don't like to wait for the 3 minutes.
We want it fast. It's a demo time.
So you get Argo out of the box with just like one CLI. You download it in your computer, you run it, and you have Argo up and running. And then the next problem, Guy, what is it? Getting Git.
One question before we're moving forward. Like you said that you're using Argo to manage Argo. So you deploy Argo for the first time using Elm or CLI, and then you make it manage itself?
Yep.
Wow, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, kubectl apply from the, like we ship like a base Argo CD from a Helm. We get the files, and
Yeah.
we just deploy the default, like the default Argo that you get from it. But I was going to tell you, like, but Argo doesn't work without Git. Like, you have GitOps, and where's the Git server? And that's where like the problem is usually like, well, I need to like find GitLab or GitHub and then authenticate Argo to connect to it because I don't want my files to be private. So the idea we came up with was putting Git, which is a small Git server that runs in a deployment. I think it's a deployment. So we use Argo CD to deploy Git. We deploy Git server and then we deploy Git, and Git is a Git server that gets deployed. So both Argo CD and Git now are two Argo apps deployed from Git. So I can open Git in a URL. There's a URL, and the URLs are in the. So that's the next thing. If they're in the documentation, probably it might be a good idea to have the URLs from the CLI. So that's a feature. Somebody wants to open an issue.
Yeah. That can
Um,
I can open an issue for that. Like to have, as you did, like get secrets, get URLs, and then you get all the URLs
yeah,
out of the box.
yeah. So in this case, we can run Argo CD through host name, but also it has another flag called use path routing. So /Argo CD /Git. That's the one that we use in reference implementation. This was the initial support. Maybe we'll switch the default to be like that. But for now, you can just use the same URL and put Git in front of it. If you want to see the magic, right? Everybody that worked with this stuff is like feels like magic. So if you can do a kubectl get ingress across, give me the ingress. These are just ingresses, right? So you can see the host here is Git versus Argo CD. And then and they're served through Nginx. So that's why we need Nginx on the server. And that's, I think, did I show it in Argo CD? That's the third application. So we have Nginx install with Argo CD. So this concept of like you building a platform with packages like Nginx and Argo CD and such and such and such, they also should be deployed with Argo CD, right? With GitOps. So you can manage your platform the way you want providing the platform. So Nginx is also deployed from Argo CD from the Git server. But going back to Git, let's go to Git and let's show it for people. So if we open the browser and the port is 8443, we can do it here. 8443. It will go to Git, and then this is Git. It looks like GitHub, but it's a GitLab. Like it's the same features. You can have pull requests, you can have merge. So it supports the Git protocol that Argo CD supports. So as you can see, we deploy 3 Argo apps, and they are pointing to each directory. So if we go to Argo CD, we're going to see the YAML files for Argo CD. If you go to Git, you will see the YAML files, the deployment, the service for that. And if we go to the Nginx, you will see the files for Nginx controller. And that's kind of, we call them the core packages of building the IDP. Just with IDP create, that's what you get. Let's go back to the cluster and inspect what do I have. Go ahead.
By the way, is there support for GitHub or GitLab for people already using it?
Yes. So basically, Argo CD, you would need to pass that extra, what I mentioned, like extra configuration, and then configure Argo CD to point to GitLab or GitHub. It's not supported from the command line because the idea is like from the command line, like putting GitHub and GitLab is not kind of practical because the IDP builder is kind of like for CI testing, like to run in a GitHub action back and forth. Your GitLab and GitHub, you will use it in production, right? So once you have like the good set of files in a folder, you push them to they are synced with GitLab with Git in your computer. But when you wanted to go to production, maybe you would use GitHub Enterprise or GitLab, or in AWS we have something called Code Commit for a Git server. And that's just the normal things. You configure Argo CD declarative to point to those Git repos from your applications, but also configure the secret, right? The secret management
Yeah.
to connect to them. And you can use like external secret operator to create the secrets, or if you have SSH keys, you can like put them in something like Vault or AWS Secret Manager, sync them with external secret operator, so that Argo CD can use them, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
So
common question. Like, how do I support everything with IDP Builder? Well, IDP Builder should stay focused like the same way as Kind. IDP Builder is kind of like local dev, CI testing type of thing, right? For quick iterations of like deleting and recreating.
yeah. And then when you take it to production, you do the post installation of Argo CD for whatever you need.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you want to connect it to your GitHub, you want to add different repos or whatever Argo CD
yeah,
architecture you have in your organization.
yeah. You don't want to use the Argo CD that is running in your laptop, right, to connect to your
Yeah,
enterprise. You could, like
obviously.
in theory, once you get a little bit more advanced, like you know what you're doing, then you put the secrets and connect from this Git Argo CD to your GitLab. But most enterprises, you will have a like a full EKS, a full Kubernetes cluster in your cloud provider, and then you will designate that cluster as like this is the, we call it like control plane or your IDP cluster, that everybody has can get to the Argo CD GUI, for example.
Hmm.
So let me show you for people to, this is Kubernetes, what is installed in here. So if we do k get pods dash a, in the kind cluster we have Argo CD is an namespace. Gitti is just a little one pod in the Gitti namespace, and then the nginx controller in here. And then the other ones that have kube system are just normal, that comes from kind, like just creating a kind cluster. These are like the basic Kubernetes cluster. uh, Kubernetes, you get like what idp builder created was install Argo CD, and then from this point anything that you want to deploy to this cluster, it will go through Argo CD. So the question is, how fast can I like move a file to the Git server to connect to create a Git repo in the Git server, to move a YAML file, and then go to Argo CD and then create an Argo CD that point to that Git server. So that's usually like I'm telling you a story, right, of working with platform engineering, like spending that time on doing that. So the IDP builder, it short circuits that. It makes that super fast by providing you a way of doing that. So I want to show you that next. That sounds good.
Sounds amazing. Like like to make sure that the development velocity for platform engineering is fast. That's a key thing.
So yeah, let me show you. So what folder am I in? So go here and open my VS Code and have the terminal in here because I'll be working with files. I don't want to install
If you can just
yet.
zoom in, like
1
to
second.
increase the font. Okay, perfect.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we have in the repo, you will see, and again, these examples are going to be moved into, I probably the basic and the ones, the other ones will stay. And by the way, we can do another episode of Terraform integrations of how to run, how to provide with the IDP builder and Backstage, how to provide people that want to run, the platformers that want to provide Terraform as a service. Like you go to Backstage and say, I want to deploy our Terraform that we always use, and then they can go to Backstage and like the Canoe system will take care of it, even with
Oh,
Backstage Terraform plugins.
that's amazing. So
Anyway,
we can show that with Crossplane and Terraform.
yeah. So the idea is to provide a self-service abstraction, right, to folks to come in and be able to use Backstage as the entry portal. So going back to IDP Builder, everything's running here. I have Argo CD up and running, and then I have a package. We can call it. We are building an IDP out of packages, so that's why we call it a package. So a package corresponds maybe to an Argo CD app, for example. That's how you deploy a package. So in this package, you will have a Argo CD app. I remember I said like I need to create an Argo CD app, an Argo CD, and like one way is to go to the GUI and create it by hand, but that's we want to have a quick life cycle for platformers. So I don't want to do it from the GUI. I want to do it from the with YAML, right? Declarative. Everything
Yeah.
is GitOps. So I will have a an Argo CD that will point to a Git repo, and within that Git repo will be a folder with my manifest files. So what you do is you point. We're going to run idpbuilder. We're going to pass a flag to point to this folder, and it will see that there's an Argo app YAML, and it would inspect and look for a line that starts with this prefix called CNOE, semicolon slash slash. And this is so typically what you have here, if you're using Argo CD, it will be what? A for repo URL.
Yeah, it will be the full whatever URL you're using, and this is kind of easier
GitLab,
to manage.
GitHub, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, this is kind of a special thing that our IDP builder will see and say, it looks like you want to deploy this folder called manifest into CNOE. So I'm going to deploy this folder into Git T. I'm going to create a repo, put this folder in Git T, and then replace this with the Git URL to that Git repo, and then the path is like the current directory inside manifest. So you can have like other like subdirectories, and then that's if when we run it, it will create the repo, will create the folder, will move the files, and would register Argo CD. So let's see the state machine in action.
Yeah.
So if I run it like this, I will do IDP. I will do IDP builder, and you will run the create command again. So again, if you run it again and again, it's just running reconcilers. So it will not break everything, and it will not be recreating everything. You can run dash recreate or start from scratch, but in this case, it's create and then help, and you will see the flag called package directory -p. So I will run it. I'll run it again, create, and then -p examples. What is it? Basic
Basic.
and package one. So that's the directory. So if we run it, then it avoids me from going to Git the. Let's go to Git the.
Oh,
Creating a repo in the GUI. So if refresh. So I created a repo called IDP builder local dev my app dash and the folder name manifests. And in the root, because I said path equals dot, it put my file in there, and then basically went to Argo CD, say, hey, where
it
is it?
was
Oh, here
added
is
here.
yellow,
Yeah.
right?
Can you
To make
zoom
it
in
look
a little bit, Nargo? Oh, that's perfect.
right. So we have a new member or a new package in our family called my app, and it's pointing to Gitty, my Gitty something something, and destination is. So if we open the app, it's deploying a pod, BusyBox pod. If we see the Argo CD details in the Git repo URL, instead of like that magic canoe location / manifest, now we have the real location to that new repo that just got created. So it avoided me from that process, right? And then like I do typos all the time, and I could not figure out what I did. A typo in the YAML,
Yeah.
right, guys? I don't know if you have done that anytime, but I do it all the
Always.
time, right?
Always and camel case, and I forget the big letter, and then I
Yeah,
don't understand why it doesn't work. But that's super amazing to see how you can create and how it renders basically the manifest through Gitty. You basically done nothing at the time. By the way, that you switched the window for the first time, it was already deployed or started. Like Argo CD already catch that while you were like switching the window to Gitty. So it was even faster than the time that you switched the windows.
yeah. And then let's say that you're working on your platform stack, right, on your package for your organization, and you need to add a file or modify a file here. So we can take this what is this thing creating? It's a pod, very like we created the most simple YAML file, right? It's a pod thing. So what about if I create a duplicate one? I created a copy. We call this one Alpine, say 2 YAML, and we change the name instead of BCBox 2, and then we leave everything the same. We leave everything the same. Maybe we change what a label or something like that. Let's change the label to, or add a label. Hey, saying like the platformers, right? Put cool here. And then that's a new label, maybe a new app. And then how do I get my YAML back to the Git? So the only thing that you have to do is run create again, point you to that folder or any other folders, other packages that you want to do. And the reconcilers inside idpbuilder will see will see the folder, will see it doesn't match the desired state, and they say, it looks like I need to move that file over into git, and then the rest is the same, so I don't have to do any other work. So as you can see here, it says the object had been modified. Please update the changes to the latest version. Try again. Failed to updating the repo, and then finish. Like Kubernetes is around eventual consistency, right? So be errors. We check again until we desired state. So if we go back to git, see if there's a new file in here. Look at that. There's
Wow.
a new file here with the information that is here. But I think we can do better than that. What do you think? We can do faster than this.
Faster
Can we
than
make it
this,
faster? Yes.
it was extremely fast.
So right, and then the Argo CD app, like I told you, we need to work on that 3 minutes to 3 seconds. Right now we have 2 pods. So let's say that we want to add a new pod, and I don't want to run the command again. It's like silly, right? So create has a flag called like it's like a watch. So do not exit. Just continuously watch the packages, and if I add files or change files, just sync them to Git or create stuff. There's no reason like we can run like this reconciler all the time. So let's see the flag, and that should be faster.
So you're going to save the command that we put together.
Yeah, and then add another flag, which I'm going to show here. It's like no exit. So it says here -- no exit when set. idpbuilder would not exit after all packages are synced. Useful for continuously syncing local directories, right? So we'll go and run it again with -- no exit.
Exactly what we need.
And then it just runs in the background. So now I can just come in here and add Alpine 3, right? I can run, let's see, I can run Alpine 3. Maybe I created a file. I should have modified if I not create a new one, but we'll see what happens in here. This one is PCPOC 3. And then the thing would eventually consistency, it would move the file. Maybe it would just, maybe we'll copy an extra file because I did the copy, but let's see. So let's go to git to the folder and look at that. How about that?
Wow.
We have Alpine 3. And I just leave
maybe
this
because
running in the background, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. I think maybe because you haven't changed the pod name, maybe it didn't deploy it correctly.
Oh, I think because I created a new file and
I'm
it
not
could
sure
be
how
it could
it's
be, but it
supposed to
doesn't
work.
matter because
Yeah.
Argo CD will just try again and the desired state. Like everything about Kubernetes, this is why one of the reasons we want to use Kubernetes as our platform definition, because it's eventual consistency, right? The desired state of the configuration of the platform and the desired state the configuration of like our apps or workloads or infrastructure is the desired state. So eventually these controllers would go to eventual consistency. So in this case, we have Alpine 3. Let's see, we have a BCBox 3. And then Argo CD, since I didn't change anything in Argo CD, this file, right? It didn't do anything with it. And then Argo CD should have the new one. And again, we can change the settings instead of like the waiting the 3 minutes to 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And here's my BCBox 3, right? And then I'm just
That's
showing you pods, right? But it could be like a config map, a secret, a CR from a CRD, a cross-plane infrastructure source like a database, an S3, another EKS cluster, anything, because this
even
is
Helm
whatever
charts.
YAML files, right? Or Helm charts that you modify. And this is our life cycle development for platform engineers. Like we are just creating stacks and we're creating a platform, but we also need a quick way of doing it. And what best way of doing it with the tools that we're using in our platform, right? GitOps and Git, and controllers. Like basically, I'm running controllers in my laptop that they're watching this desired state sitting in this folder, and it just happened. If it changes, I move it to Git to make Argo CD look at Git instead of looking at my folders in my laptop, right?
It's amazing to see. Like, I remember that, I know, 2 or 3 years ago, like when you take a look about development lifecycle, especially local development or even cloud development, compared to more DevOps or infrastructure development, it was on a completely two different cadences. Like development would be much, much faster, and everything related to infrastructure would become very, very slow, because you need even to run Terraform apply, and that would take, I know, minutes to run. And that's amazing to see how it actually, that turnaround, like how platform development can become even faster maybe than software development, using Canoe and Argo CD and all the reconciler opportunities in here.
So I can speak, not, I would, yeah, faster than a developer, maybe, maybe not, but I can tell you the story of me as when I was a developer. I'm now a solutions architect, right? I guess because you grow older, you get more burn and you know more. But I used to be a web developer and I did a lot of JavaScript. And one of the things that I did was I hit my Node.js npm watch my folders, right? So as I changed my JavaScript files, it did the build and a reload my browser, right? That was a thing for, I think still it is for people doing web development, that you want to just change the JavaScript file, hit save in your IDE, and then you should see the result of your change, either an error or if it works, right? And at the same time, change that file, and then some unit test runs. So potentially, this is the new area to in the Canoe project to think about, like what happens when I save a file? How do I trigger the test? Or what does it mean to have a unit test versus an end-to-end test in platform engineering? So that's a good thing to think about, and also like welcoming people that have background in terms of development, because these are the type of things that they can think about how to solve, or what are the requirements, right, to make it faster to develop your platform instead of an application. But at the end of the day, you're building some workloads that will run and be internal into your organization, that are going to be production. So that's one of the key aspects of platform engineering and internal developer platform. It's called internal, but it's an internal product. So it needs to be tested, it needs to be released, it needs to be versioned, it needs to have like all the capabilities that the maybe a workload that you put in as a public to your customers needs to have.
Exactly. And by the way, next week we are going to do a live stream together with Dominic Rest, which is a product manager for Giant Swan, but also part of the working group of platforms in the CNCF, and he is going to explain and talk a lot about how platform as a product is really a thing when you want to grow in the platform engineering majority model. So it's going to be something that I think, Carlos, you and I and Dominic going to talk a lot about next
Yep.
week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that for next week, because they were showing you the tools aspect of it, but the other part is, if you build it, they might not come. So how do you build a product that your internal users, right, would adopt and see value out of it, right? See value, see quality out of it. So I'm looking forward of what the working group is doing, and I think I believe that they were doing even interviews to companies to learn more about how companies are doing it, and then bring that back to the CNCF community.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
let's go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead. I just want to say like one thing. If people are in the audience, you're watching now, and you have any questions, uh, please comment that. Comment on the video, comment on LinkedIn, comment on YouTube, whatever. Comment on the video that you're just watching, and we will answer a question.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll get the question in any this stream platforms that you're watching. um and yeah, this is I think we want to do this again, try and create a series for builders, to learn how to learn from each other. And like, Canoe is an open source project. I'm using it as a tool to also like do solutions engineering, like with customers, to show them like how this stack, you can put a stack together. It doesn't have to be the stack same reference implementation, but I can, like I showed you, you bring different packages from internal that you develop in Kubernetes. There's some companies developing their own controllers and their own CRDs, so they're bringing it into Canoe to plug them in, so the platform engineers are using it. And another interesting part is this IDP builder is being used by front end developers that are doing UI development on Backstage, and they don't know
oh,
anything about platform or Kubernetes. So
wow.
basically, it's like, because they want to use an environment that is almost like production, that has the latest changes from the platform team. So the platform team is telling them, yeah, just run idpbuilder on your laptop, pointed to this folder that you get pulled every other day to get the latest changes, running in watch mode, and then do your testing there, and then change the UI, change Backstage, do the UI development, extend Backstage, and just work on JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. But you have like an environment locally that you can iterate fast on it with the latest changes from the platform team.
Wow. Wow. That's a really amazing another use case for Canoe. Anything else that you want to show us, or let's wrap up the session and
No,
talk
let's
about the
wrap it
next
up.
one?
I think we covered the how to download it, how to run it without any packages, how to add a package, how to watch a package, what gets installed out of the box, which are three core packages. And then, like we showed last week, if you pointed to that folder called reference implementation, then you will have a full stack of Backstage, Keycloak, Argo workflows, Argo CD. Um, what else?
Crossplane,
Git, Crossplane,
I think
Spark,
Argo
also
workflow. Oh,
Spark,
Spark.
Argo workflow, and a Spark operator that you can do three scenarios: deploy an app, deploy Spark job, and also deploy an S3 bucket, an app with S3 buckets. Everything from Backstage. But the idea is like learning behind the scenes, like how is this tool will work, right? So I can put a version of that for my company with my own stack.
Yeah, that's completely amazing, and I'm going to do a teaser for the next episode. And in the next episode, we are going to go deeper into the Backstage template and help you to understand how you can develop not only packages and capabilities into the platform itself, but more on the templating side. Now you can add Backstage template, for example, to support not only the free use cases that Carlos just mentioned, but you want to add a new one. And how can you do that using the IDP builder and using the sync and the concilers that we just saw today?
Yeah, that would
Uh,
be amazing.
that would be amazing. So we don't have a date yet, but we are going to schedule it right after. So a few words before we are done. Like Carlos, thank you very much. I think it was really amazing to see all of that in action, like to going live, the like going and demo it and going in through the like understand that they may going to have problem and fix it on the way. It was just amazing, and I think the value that Canoe IDP builder and you show us today how to use that is super valuable for everyone in the audience. So thank you very much for that. And next week we are going to do the session with Dominique. It's going to be amazing. And thank you everyone for coming and joining us for the session. Stay tuned for the session next week and follow us, and we will update when is the next session about the backstage template and developing backstage template using CNOE and IDP Builder.
Yeah, leave a comment in the LinkedIn post of this event in the YouTube. Also, drop a comment in the Canoe-interest CNCF Slack channel, or ping me directly in LinkedIn. Happy to collaborate. But yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. See you next time.
Yeah. You folks.